Today we're diving into a topic that has shaped societies for millennia, the intricate dance between belief and control. Now, I know what you're thinking, John. I just finished my morning coffee. Must you burden me with the weight of the world? And to that I say, fair point, but someone has to point out the utter absurdity of it all, and frankly, the pandas aren't stepping up. We're going to uncover the hidden machinery, the levers and pulleys that have allowed a select few to control the fate of so many for so long. We'll explore the stories we tell ourselves, the myths we swallow whole, and the systems that keep us playing a rigged game. Buckle up, because we're about to expose the man behind the curtain. And spoiler alert, he's really bad at his job. For centuries, the promise of heavenly reward and the threat of eternal damnation have proven remarkably effective tools for social control. Don't get me wrong, there's a certain poetic beauty to the idea of a higher power, but let's be honest, the history of organized religion is less love thy neighbor and more love thy neighbor's land, after we conquer it in the name of God, of course. From the Crusades to the Spanish Inquisition, entire empires were built on a foundation of unwavering faith. And while blind faith can be a beautiful thing, it also makes for remarkably compliant citizens. After all, it's much easier to exploit a population when they're too busy looking for salvation to notice you've run off with their rights. So religion softened the ground, made it fertile for the seeds of control to take root. And boy, did they take root. Enter the oligarchy. These are the folks who saw an opportunity in blind faith and thought, you know what? I could get used to this whole ruling thing, and just like that, a system designed to elevate the human spirit became a tool for earthly gain. The problem with oligarchies, aside from the whole trampling on human rights bit, is that they tend to forget where they came from. They build ivory towers so high they forget what the ground looks like, let alone what it's like to struggle on it. It's a tale as old as time. Power corrupts, and absolute power corrupts. Well, absolutely. Here's a fun fact. For most of human history, the average person has had about as much power as a wet paper bag. We're talking generations upon generations living in the shadow of the powerful, told what to think, how to worship, and when to shut up and pay their taxes. It's remarkable, really, how effectively humans can be convinced to accept the unacceptable. We're hardwired for connection, for community, and sometimes that means going along with the crowd, even when the crowd is marching straight towards a cliff. Now, here's where things get interesting. We've established that power structures throughout history have relied on maintaining the status quo. But here's the thing about the status quo. It's often complete and utter nonsense, and yet we're conditioned to accept it, to fear the very act of questioning. Why? Because questioning is dangerous. Questioning leads to critical thinking. Critical thinking leads to people realizing they're being screwed over. And realizing you're being screwed over, well, that's just bad for business. Let's play a game. I call it Spot the Difference. On one side, we have the obscenely wealthy lounging on their yachts, sipping champagne that costs more than your car. On the other side, we have, well, everyone else. Struggling to make ends meet, drowning in debt, and wondering if they can afford both rent and groceries this month. Can you spot the difference? Because it's staring us right in the face. The acceptance of this disparity, this chasm between the haves and the have-nots, is perhaps the oligarchy's greatest triumph. They've managed to convince us that this is just the way things are, the natural order of the universe. It's not. It's a choice. A choice we make every single day to accept a system that benefits the few at the expense of the many. Let's talk about scarcity, shall we? The idea that there's simply not enough to go around, not enough resources, not enough wealth, not enough opportunities. It's a convenient narrative, isn't it? Especially if you're the one hoarding most of the pie. We're taught from a young age that we live in a world of limited resources, that we must compete for scraps, that someone somewhere has to lose. It's the foundation of our economic system, the bedrock of our education. But here's the thing. It's a lie. Destiny. That magical word that absolves us of responsibility for our actions, our choices, our lives. The idea that we're all just pawns in some cosmic game, that our fates are predetermined. Convenient, isn't it? especially if you're the one writing the rules of the game. The belief in destiny, in some predetermined order, is a powerful tool for maintaining the status quo. After all, if it's all preordained, why bother fighting it? Why strive for change when your place is already set? But here's a revolutionary thought. Maybe, just maybe, we have the power to choose our own destinies. Here's a radical notion. What if I told you that we live in a world of abundance? A world where there's enough for everyone if we just stop hoarding it in our metaphorical and literal bunkers. The truth is, we live on a planet overflowing with resources. The sun showers us with more energy than we could ever use. The earth is teeming with life, with food, with the building blocks of a just and equitable society. But we're so caught up in the scarcity mindset, so conditioned to believe there's not enough to go around, that we fail to see the bounty right in front of our eyes. We are powerful beyond measure. Each and every one of us possesses within us the potential to create, to innovate, to build a better world. But somewhere along the way, we've been convinced to disconnect from that power. We've been told to sit down, shut up, and consume. We are bombarded with distractions, inundated with messages designed to keep us docile, complacent, and perpetually plugged into the matrix. The news, social media, that endless parade of reality TV, it's all designed to keep us entertained, disengaged, and most importantly, unthreatening. Here's the thing about those who do manage to break free, those who remember their innate power and dare to live authentically. They're often labeled as strange, eccentric, even dangerous. They're the witches, the wizards, the free thinkers and truth seekers who threaten the delicate balance of control. Why are we so quick to dismiss those who challenge the status quo? Why do we label them as crazy, as heretics, as threats to be silenced? Because their very existence exposes the lie. They remind us that we too are capable of breaking free from the matrix, of reclaiming our power, and that, my friends, is a terrifying prospect for those in control. Let's talk about the Illuminati, shall we? The boogeyman of conspiracy theorists everywhere. The all-powerful, all-knowing secret society pulling the strings from the shadows. Now, I'm not saying they don't exist. I'm just saying that if they are real, they're not nearly as competent as we give them credit for. Think about it. If you were a shadowy cabal controlling the world, wouldn't you do a better job of hiding it? The global elite aren't exactly known for their subtlety. They're more yacht parties and diamond-encrusted champagne flutes than secret handshakes and clandestine meetings. We live in a world increasingly governed by sentimentality, by emotion, by the fleeting comfort of feeling right, rather than the often uncomfortable reality of being right. We're bombarded with information, yet we seem to be losing our ability to discern fact from fiction, truth from carefully crafted narrative. We've become a society of confirmation bias addicts, eagerly seeking out information that reinforces our existing beliefs, even when those beliefs are demonstrably, objectively, verifiably wrong. And in the process, we're sacrificing our ability to think critically, to engage in reasoned debate, to even agree on a basic set of facts. So, where do we go from here? How do we break free from the cycle of control, the self-imposed limitations, the manufactured consent that keeps us tethered to a system designed to benefit the few at the expense of the many? It starts with awareness, with recognizing the strings, the subtle and not so subtle ways in which we're being manipulated, controlled, and kept in the dark. It's about questioning everything, challenging the status quo, and refusing to accept the unacceptable. It's time to open our eyes and question the structures that have held us back for so long. Stay informed, stay curious, and let's strive for a more enlightened society.